Boom, what's up, Vegas? Welcome back to OTMS, the first dad-daughter podcast of Vegas, coming at you live from Sin City. I'm Mr. 702, a.k.a. CPAF, a.k.a. Dupre, here with my partner in crime, Taylor D., affectionately known as...
Dupre Jr.
Right on. Welcome back to another episode of OTMS, the summer session. And if you're keeping score at home, this is actually our fourth podcast, but only the third one's going to count because the second one I kind of jacked up, so we kind of got to have to redo that one. But for your hair scorecards at home, this is Taylor's fourth different hairdo. And we're going to try to see how long we can keep this ball rolling in terms of the hair game. So, Taylor, what's going on? What's new in your world? Give us something fun and exciting to kick off this show. No pressure.
Oh, no pressure. Okay. I quit my 9-to-5 and I am exploring freelancing content editing. Woo!
So after many years of conversations with my daughter about being an entrepreneur and talking to her about W-2 life, finally, maybe we're...
Yeah, it finally clicked. 9-to-5 is not the way to live.
Now, that being said, I can't say anything because I was 9-to-5 until I was 45. Yeah. So you are definitely ahead of the game, a lot quicker than I am. And you will experience a lot more success at an earlier age than I did. So,
fingers crossed.
Yeah, but here's the thing. If you're a dad out there and you have kids, and I'm not going to give anybody any type of parenting advice, but what I will say is this, and it just has to do with if you push, they pull. Very rarely do you
push and they're like, okay.
Yeah, they just accept it. So there's a certain way that you have to go about doing it, a certain amount of finesse and grace when you're talking to your kids, and they're resistant. You may know what's best for them. You may think what's best for them, but you don't really know what's best for them, especially in the moment. And if they're around other people and they see other things going on and you're just one fraction of that part of their life, and they're just, say, out of high school, they just started a new job that they really love. Yeah, that's browbeating them will never get you the results that you want. I don't care. Yep. I don't care who you are. You have to do what they call motivational interviewing. Yeah. Right? And you ask questions as to why, the how, the when, and you want to draw the answers out of them and have them think for themselves, because then they feel like they have choices. Yep. Anytime you box somebody in with a question, right? And you give them and they're going to resist. And that's just, and especially when you're dealing with the dynamic of kids and parents, generally, sometimes kids are going to rebel against parents because we've all been kids and we've all rebelled against our parents at some point in time. So back to Taylor's point about, freelancing and doing entrepreneurial work, I don't think that I browbeat her. We had a couple conversations over the course of the time, but I was speaking more as to the virtues and the benefits of having your own freedom of schedule, making more money, and not having to answer to somebody that maybe you don't think is as smart as you, works as hard as you, or you just don't respect. It's hard to go to work every day and be motivated and influenced and be inspired by somebody that they're telling you one thing and then doing the other.
Way.
Yeah, that is booty shaking.
That is booty shaking.
Talk about today. So that's a good segue into what we're going to talk about. So we originally talked about booty shaking in the Lost episode. Yeah. The Lost episode. So we talked about booty shaking, which you guys are never going to see. And here's the thing with booty shaking. So either third time's a charm or 3 strikes and we're out.
Oh gosh.
Unknown caller.
Nice.
Was that our third strike?
Yeah, that's our third strike. That's okay. God telling us, do not talk about booty shaking. We're out of here. Peace. I'm going to take off my Bluetooth. But no, so the last podcast that the original OTMS crew, we talked about booty shaking, and that podcast never got to air.
Jeez Louise.
And then we talk about it in the second one.
And it didn't get to air.
But that was on me fumbling around, not knowing how to work technology.
We're both learning, though. This is new to both of us, so have grace with yourself.
Thank you for showing me mercy and grace and dear Lord, sign of the cross. Anyways, so what is booty shaking? Let's define it. It's a concept that's originated out of the clubs here in Vegas. Yep. And so back in the day, when your dad was working in a nightclub, we would go to other nightclubs. And so your dad would, what's the proper way to say this? utilize the cocktail servers that he used to party with, and they would go down to the dance floor and hustle dudes for drinks, plural, like DRINKZ, drinks.
Drank.
And so they would dance, they'd shake their booty, hence booty shaking. And so what would happen is the guy would buy them the drinks, and then the girls would come back up to our booth, and we'd have a free drink. The girl would have the free drink, but the guy that bought them the drink would only be out the money and never got anything in return, no reciprocation, hence booty shaking. So booty shaking is signaling one thing and then
Unknown caller.
Acting another way.
somebody's really trying to get a hold of me.
Do not disturb.
I just need to take this thing off. But anyways, so that's booty shaking. So we all experience booty shaking like every day of our lives. All you gotta do is go on Instagram and look at like people who are posting like maybe they're a happy couple. I don't know how many instances of people posting that they're a happy couple, and then in real life,
They hate each other's guts.
exactly,
Yeah.
people posting stuff about working out, but they don't really,
Their bodies don't look different.
right, for what they're posting versus what they're doing. Like something's not matching up here,
It's
right?
not adding up.
Something is not adding up. People posting, the one that gets me is when everybody posts like some philosophical quote from somebody
Yep.
to like inspire you to do something, and you've worked with them before and you're like,
They're not
Bro.
inspiring anybody.
you barely show up to work. You like call in. Like you're the person that wants to get paid for not doing anything, but yet you're posting all these philosopher quotes. And so there's a saying, and I don't know who to attribute it to. Someone could look it up on the internet or just ask AI. Chat GPT is, if you want to be a philosopher king, you have to be a king first, right? You can't be like laying down wisdom. It's like King Solomon, right, in the Bible. You know, when he was waxing poetic on Ecclesiastes, like he was speaking from a position of experience. Like, I've seen these things, I've experienced these things. Here's my thoughts and impressions on these things. Marcus Aurelius the same way, like his meditations. He's just kind of like reflecting on the life that he lived, some of the things that he did good, some of the things that he did bad, and then waxing poetic on, you know, just his whole life in general in Rome and what he's done and what he didn't do. But he wasn't a philosopher first. He was a king and then became a philosopher. So that's kind of like booty shaking, like in a nutshell. And it's so prevalent because you see it every day. It could be happening in your families. It could be happening with your friends. It could be happening in Look, when I was married, and I've only been married once, so this kind of isolates who it is, but we won't blow anybody up on camera. My first like taste of it before I knew about it from the nightclub. No, actually I was nightclub first and then I got in the situation. That just tells you love is blind. So, you know, before she would head out of the house, you know, in a little tote bag with her stuff in there, you know, she'd be like, I love you. I love you, Mark. I love you. And then she would go out and go see whoever and, you know, do whatever grown people do at night when they go into a room by themselves, blah, 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 blah. And they come home at 5 a.m. in the morning and tell me she loved me again. That's booty shaking. If you're telling somebody you love them and then going to spend the night with somebody else, that is like the most blatant example. And you know who you are? Like, hey, nothing but love for you. You're doing well in life. I've seen what you're up to, and we were all young back in the day, but I'm just using an example, but nobody knows who you are.
Except for me.
Except for Taylor. And so, but that's blatant. Like, and so but you know, there's lessons learned. There's lessons learned from that. So the main lesson that I took away from that was, you know, your significant other, it goes back to our, battleship scenario where I was like, if your dad will cheat, right?
Any man will.
That's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
if my wife at the time could sit there and tell me that she loves me and then walk out and go do whatever, then
Yeah.
you kind of find out that words can be really super
Yeah.
hollow and that their actions don't back up what it is that they're saying. And so the lesson that I learned from that moving forward was just to be more intelligent and not just take words at face value. Now, there's other people on the side of the camera and people who are going to watch them like, well, who doesn't know that? Well, I'm going to tell you that 90% of people don't know that, because if that was the case, people wouldn't get the rug pulled out from under them. One, we'd probably chase all the politicians out of DC and you guys would stop voting the same way every time for the same cycle. I mean, good God, in the Black or the Latino communities, Democrats and Republicans come around once every 4 years. You guys fall for their wick and wilds just so they can get your vote, because usually the Black and brown vote is the determining vote, because the white vote is split 50-50, right? They come into your neighborhoods, right? Say nice things, show you shiny objects. And then the next thing you know, you're voting for them. And then 4 years later, you're actually worse off. Yeah. Nothing's changed. So that's booty shaking. But we fall for it like every single day. And people love to deceive themselves. I like to say one thing.
And then do something else.
And then do something else.
Yeah.
And there's an old saying, and this one I know who it is. Richard Feynman was a physicist. And he said, people are easily fooled. And the easiest person to fool
is
yourself.
Yeah.
So for you guys that are saying, I know, you don't know, because if you knew, you wouldn't be getting deceived. I mean, how many shows, how many books where people are like, I had no idea homeboy next door was a murderer.
Yeah. I think people like false hope, though. They like to think everything will be okay, or like not want to believe that the bad thing is happening.
True, but then you compound the problem, right? You can be an ostrich and stick your head in the dirt and pretend like, either the climate, isn't bad, or World War III isn't going on, or nukes aren't dropping, or the Martians are whatever, right? Just because you stick your head in the sand doesn't mean it's not happening. It just means you just choose, not to accept it, to acknowledge it. And then that just keeps, you keep perpetuating the problem when you do that. You have to attack it head on. There's two things in this world that are certain besides death and taxes. It's change. Things are always changing.
Yep.
And things end. They just end. They're going to end in some form or fashion. It could be you're in school at some point in time, that class is going to end. You're working a job at some point in time, that job's going to come to an end. You're in a relationship at some point in time, that relationship is going to come to an end, either through just you guys break it off because it's not working, or someone passes away. So something's always going to come to an end. Something's always going to change. If you stick your head in the dirt, how does that solve the problem?
It doesn't.
So then you're stuck in that same cycle, still doing the same stuff.
Yep. I think we talked about it. Some people are comfortable there. They're comfortable being complacent. The change is scary for them. So instead of going with it and accepting it, they're willing to be comfortable being unhappy.
But then they booty shake themselves.
Yeah, they do.
And they deceive themselves.
Yeah, they do.
Right? Because they say they want one thing.
And then they don't do anything.
And then they don't do anything about it to kind of break the cycle of behavior that keeps leading them into that same position. I was talking to some friends of mine, and we were talking about this concept called the negative love cycle. And the negative love cycle says that, and it's kind of it starts when you're a child, and kind of what you witness in the house, or some of the behaviors or the emotions or whatever you deal with growing up, especially if you have a dysfunctional household, you will look subconsciously, for those same behaviors and patterns in people and gravitate towards that. So I think about, my serious relationships in my life. And they kind of all ended, disastrously, because I think I keep gravitating towards the same type of person.
Yep.
So then the question is it their fault or is it my fault?
I mean, I think if they're acting a certain way, one, they need to be held accountable for their actions. Just because you gravitate towards that person doesn't give them the right to treat you poorly, or anything like that. But I think when you become self-aware and notice that there's a pattern, that you keep dating the same type of person, you need to hold yourself accountable as well. Because if you're aware, oh yeah, this person is just like my ex, and you choose to date them still, that's on you. You can't blame them for hopping into a situation where you knew what you were getting into.
No, I agree 100%. And so, now, when you go through a very long situation and you get out, you're all right, I can't swing and miss too many more times. You know, like I don't want to like swing and miss in my 60s and say like I bombed in another 12 year or in my 70s, right? Because it's like nobody wants to die alone. Nobody wants to be lonely. We all seek companionship, right? We're social creatures by nature.
We weren't meant to be alone.
We weren't meant to be alone. And so, you know, like you're right. So like now I had to take a step back and say, all right, finally, after 50 some years of existing on this earth and dating women, whatnot, I have to take a more intelligent approach. And so now I have to really, and I think this is good for anybody. You got pros and cons stuff. You got to just take a piece of paper, divide it down the middle, pro, con, when you first get with somebody.
Yep.
What's their pros? What's their cons? And if they're cons for you, and it doesn't mean they're a bad person. It just means their cons don't necessarily like, you can't marry that to who you are as a person.
Yeah.
Like they might not be the right fit for you.
Yeah, there's a difference between cons and things you can overlook.
Right.
So.
You got examples of that?
Okay, con, say like he just sucks at communicating, like doesn't tell you where he's going, when he's coming home. That's a con. That's something you can't overlook, because if you had an ex who didn't communicate and he was cheating on you, you're going to assume this guy is doing the same thing. So that's a con. Something to overlook is maybe like,
he leaves the toilet seat up.
yeah, that you can overlook that. You can like be open about that and be like, hey dude, can you just put the seat down? Or you can just put the seat down, as long as you're not going to get mad at him in the future for not putting it down because you do it for him. But that's, yeah, there's a difference. Like there are different levels of like, okay, I can deal with this. And like, that's like a no-go for me.
No, I love that example. And I think that's perfect, because there's like, I think there's certain things, elements in a relationship, in any relationship, in our relationship, in a relationship with your siblings or friends, relationships that involve intimacy. And one of the key tenets that you touched upon was communication.
Yep.
And so I think there's three things that they have to possess. And if any one of those three are non-existent, then you cannot be with that person. So the first one is communication, which you alluded to. Like, if you can't communicate with somebody, that's just not going to work.
Yeah.
Period. I mean, come on. Has there ever been a situation where you guys just sat in silence the whole time? You didn't talk to somebody the whole time.
Yeah.
You were able to like pick up on a girl without talking to her because you were just, you know, signaling by blinking at her X amount of times or something like that, or doing some type of a weird dance. No, you had to talk to that person. You had to like demonstrate your character, your personality. Are you funny? Are you witty? Are you intelligent? Right? Because those are the things that stimulate and carry you through. You know, for guys, we are physically driven creatures. We start from the outside in. We're like, oh, she's hot. And then we just roll from there. And then we're like, okay, pray to God, I hope she's okay. Right?
Yeah.
And that's just the way we work, where I think women,
we're looking inside out. We don't really care about what you look like.
sometimes.
If you have a bad personality though, and you're like a solid 10, like no girl's gonna want to date you. Like, we're not gonna be like, yeah, he's a douche, but did you see how hot he is? Like, no girl is gonna be like that, versus like a guy I feel like will be like, yeah, she's got some things to overlook, but like, dude, like, look how good she looks, like sitting in the car with me.
100%. 100%. That's why that's why, you know, you say like guys have trophy wives.
Yeah.
You know, because we can make the physical appearance, like we could spread that thing out.
Yep.
For a long time,
Yep.
but
it's not gonna like last forever.
It's not gonna last forever.
It's not gonna last forever. It'll last a long time. You'll probably get out and then be like, well, should have picked somebody who had a personality.
No, 100%.
So-
Look, I'm very confident in myself, and I don't think there's really anybody out there that I don't think I have the ability to date. I don't sell myself short, but I will say this: you know, the hotter the girls that I dated, the less depth of character that they had. It doesn't mean that there's hot girls out there that don't have depth of character.
Just from your
That's not what I'm saying.
experience.
In my experiences in this city, and we talked about the negative love cycle,
Yep.
the girls that I dated who have been considered by all accounts hot, where I would get left-handed compliments from other guys hating, like, hey man, how did you end up with her? Like, and I'm just like, because of guys like you, weirdo. Because you're looking at other guys. I don't worry about other guys. I don't sweat other guys. I don't compete with other guys, because Mark is one of one. But that said, yeah, I get in trouble because I go outside and then inside. And I think, you know this more than I do, you know, when women look at guys and they're thinking about a guy, I think they're looking for several elements. Obviously, attraction's one of them. But attraction can be different things. So let's remove the physical part. because women aren't as obsessed about the physical part. I'm not saying that they don't think guys are attractive.
Yeah. It's just like not a make it or break it thing.
Right.
For
You
us.
guys look at security,
Yep.
stability,
Yep.
protection, right? Sense of humor, elements like that. Like,
Funny wins every time.
yeah, like you could take those things and add it to a guy that maybe is a 5 or 6 on the
Yeah.
physical appearance scale. And then if he has all those elements, he's secure, he's stable,
Yep.
he's got a great career, he's funny, he's a provider, he can protect you, right?
Yep.
Immediately that 5 jumps to a
He's
10,
a 10, yeah.
right?
Yep.
Guys don't think like that.
Nope.
You know, this is the difference between guys and women.
Yep.
And it's just all in our approach. And you guys, we take a lot more risk because we don't identify that stuff. Or at least now I'm taking a step back and saying, what is it that I want? So I obviously take the physical part out. I don't even write that down. You know, what I'm looking for is there's like 4 different things. And I'm like trying to be more intelligent in my approach like a woman is, right? You know, they have to have like 4 things. They have to have like a health set. You know, are they fit? You know, you don't have to go to the gym and like lift all the weights. You don't have to I don't want all that. I don't want you like sewing the fitness that you're just into yourself. But I do want you to have like some type of a healthy mindset,
Yeah.
right?
Take
Your body
care
is
of
your
yourself,
temple.
yeah.
Take care of yourself. Another one is a spiritual set. I don't care how you get to God. It could be any religion. I don't really care. But I think you need some type of, everybody does. We need
Something to
some,
believe in.
you gotta have something to believe in. And people who
Someone
like,
to believe in.
people who like poo-poo like belief, faith, hope. If you say that those things don't exist, why do you even plan for tomorrow?
Yeah. What are you living for?
What are you living for?
Exactly. What
why
is your purpose?
Like, why do you save for your kids'
Yeah.
college? You know, why do you put money? Why not just every day, just live it to the nth
Yeah.
degree, right? And just
YOLO
say,
every day.
yeah, YOLO every day, and then
Yeah.
wake up the next day and do whatever. YOLO again. See how far that gets you. You don't, because you have faith in tomorrow. The sun will rise tomorrow, right? You're going to wake up tomorrow. And the reason why people procrastinate is because of the concept or the idea of tomorrow. So that right there tells me you believe in something, you have hope in something, you have faith in something. When your partner says, I'm going to go out with some friends tonight, you're hoping and believing that they're going out with their friends, right?
Yeah.
I need a girls' night out.
Okay.
And you're like, okay.
Yeah. You got to be able to trust them.
Yes. So that leads me to the second part. You got the communication. Trust is critical. If you cannot trust, or you have trust issues, I would say, you need to fix yourself first.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? Because you have a background or a
Yeah.
cycle of behavior where you've been exposed to people you can't trust, and now you're carrying that baggage forward.
Yeah.
Because you were that ostrich that put your head in the dirt and said, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. But you're bringing it with you. So if you have trust issues, you shouldn't be in a relationship.
Yeah. You can't project that onto somebody else and hope that they'll just fix all your problems for you.
Because why?
They
What-
won't.
They won't.
They're either A, gonna be who you were scared they were, or B, like get tired of having to try to fix you. That's it.
Yeah. No, and this isn't the Coldplay song where it's like, I'll fix you. It just doesn't work out that way.
You
And-
can't
and
fix people.
no, you got to fix
That's it.
yourself.
Yep.
You talked about it where you're like, you have to be okay.
With being alone first.
Yep.
Yeah. If you're gonna get into a relationship, you have to go in trusting until they prove like they can't have your trust. You can't go in distrusting until they earn it. Because how are they going to earn it? You're always going to have that thought in the back of your head, like, maybe they're lying to me. Maybe they're doing this. Versus if you trust them, like, you know, you trust them and maybe they never prove you wrong and all is well in the world. So.
But like you just said, you made a really good point that, you know, when you don't trust somebody, that person who's on that receiving end may just get so worn out.
Yeah.
Then they give you a reason not to trust them, because it's like, if I'm going to be accused of the crime,
I might as well do it.
might as well commit the crime.
You can't prove trust to somebody. There's just no way, because that person is never 100% going to be like, you know what? I finally trust them. There's just no way.
No, I agree 100%. And so communication is one. We beat down trust pretty good. And the other one is loyalty.
Period. Yeah.
Like if you're in a relationship and the person you're with is not your biggest cheerleader,
Yeah.
is not your partner in crime, is not your is not your Bonnie to your Clyde, or like they choose other people over you,
Yeah.
other situations over you, like you aren't first and foremost, short of kids, right?
Yeah.
But then that should be a collective effort. But they should love you unconditionally.
Yeah. Even if they like disagree with you on things, like I think it's important to remember like that is between like the two people in the relationship. You don't need to make it public. You don't need to run to your friends with it. Like if you're having issues or maybe you disagree on something, discuss it in private first instead of putting them on blast, because again, that's not supporting anybody. It's like putting distance between you guys. All right, guys, we hope you enjoyed the episode. Unfortunately, we did have some technical difficulties, but we wanted you guys to still see what we put out for you. So I hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you next time. Bye.